That should be recording.
Okay.
So how long have you been working on Think at Night?
Well, roughly since 1992 in terms of shooting. But it was first mentioned in I like that. That's a good ringtone. It was first mentioned in an interview with me in The Rough Cut, which is the Winnipeg Film Group magazine, little, copy on a copier magazine that they did in 1988. That was the year I finished Tunes Aplenty. So that's how long I've roughly been thinking about it and working on it. But since 88 and 92, I had applied for a major grant to do a very large film, a big ensemble film called Until It Happens Twice. In fact, I had applied for two big grants to do two bigger films than Tunes Aplenty, because Tunes Aplenty was about $31,000, and I wanted to make a $50,000 to $60,000 film. So I had done one film that was a Capra-esque / Godardian film called Until It Happens Twice, and I got that title from a line from a Tom Verlaine solo album, Tom Verlaine from the Television, and the line was, I just listened to it the other day, what would you say I need is a shield, what I need is an open field, I recall the actor's advice that nothing happens until it happens twice. So that's where I got that title. And then the other thing I was working for, which I actually got a $3,000 grant to do the film treatment, to do a script, was a film called The Babies of the River. That was a sci-fi film, too. And I only got the $3,000 grant to do the script for Babies of the River, which was just really a treatment, not a script, and does no longer exist, by the way, too. I started doing Think at Night, which was, I said, that's it, I'm done with going for grants, and now I'm just going to piecemeal shoot these films. I'm going to go for a little grant from the film group to just shoot an improv film. So the thought behind the film was, I'll come up with the first scene, and then I'll shoot it, and then I'll see what that tells me to shoot next. I'll say, what is that? What should I do next? I did, and then I did the next scene, and I did the next scene. I knew the end of the film. That's the only thing that's weird. I knew the last shot of the film. But also, did I? I don't even know.
So you're not working backwards, though?
No.
In terms of structure?
In fact, I don't even know if I know the last shot of the film. I knew sort of how it was going to end, but after a while, after I'd shot about 30 minutes of the film, in 2007, okay, so this is from 92 to 2007, I got little grants from the film group, and I shot various stuff. I got up to 30 minutes of the film finished 30 minutes, not 30 minutes of raw footage. And then I thought, well, I better figure out the rest of the film. So from there on in, I figured out the rest of the film. I figured out how it was going to end. I figured out the new characters in it, what they were going to do, what they were going to say. And then I shot, and in fact, it was such a low grant that I needed 40 minutes of finished material, like edited, and I had 47 minutes of film. So you can figure out the ratio. It's like 1:1 ratio, 1.1:1 ratio or something. Mm-hmm. I did a few I had to do a 4-minute breakfast scene with dialogue in one take. Like, you know what I mean? Luckily, there's not much dialogue in it, but it's got the Hanecian, as I was once called, spaces.
Why did they say that?
Well, like in downtime, there's a lot of spaces. Here's an interesting sequence, a kind of a sequence where language overtakes the MC character, and this fast cutting sequence coming up was a single frame, walking around outside and doing a single frame on just signs around the neighborhood. So there's that was 830 single frames in this sequence. And I don't have the music in here, but it's very intense music that's playing at this point. Like very intense, kind of droney, driving, majestic music. And this cuts to another interesting thing. This is where a poet had given me a poem and insisted on reading the poem while walking through the lab. Did you see any of that footage?
No.
Oh, it's one of my favorite scenes in the film, by the way. And then he insisted that I go on reading, and then that's the poem that I'm throwing into the air. Like he insisted then after him reading it to me that I read it too. So I'm walking through a parking lot reading it, the poem. And then I finish the poem, I look up and I see all that 800 quick shots of words. And then I throw the poem in the air. And this is going to be one of the... This is a very kind of a surrealistic sequence. Kind of a dreamy sequence. The cheap computer is freezing up, by the way, just so you know. I'm wondering if...
So what do you have left to do on this film?
Oh, well, it's all edited from... These things are so annoying. It's all edited from shot 1 to shot 72 or whatever it is. Scene, I have about 72 or 3 shots in the film, maybe 75, and it's a 70-minute film, so that's interesting. I wanted some really long shots. I don't count those 800 shots. That's really one shot, but it has 800 frames in it. So, anyways, but so all the basic sound is in. All the basic sound that's the bedrock of the film is in. Now and it's edited roughly, fairly tightly, so as to how it's going to be when it's done. So that's what I've done now, and I'm now on step 2, which is I had a notebook here somewhere. It's taking notes on all the extra sound I need. Now I need to do sound like there's a scene in a cafe, and I need to go to a cafe and get cafe sound and put it over that scene. There's a scene in a restaurant for a breakfast scene, and I did it in the restaurant without people in it, right, while it was closed. So now I need to go to a restaurant that's busy and get the busy sound of a busy restaurant with clanging dishes and stuff to put in the background. So, but I have to go on and record it. I have to bring my recording device and go do it, right? So, in fact, where's the bag with the film? See that silver thing in there? Hand it to me if you want. Thanks. Like in this digital age, this is all I need. This is an H2, Zoom H2 handheld recording. It does fantastic recordings. It's very good. Like you can record music with it, but it's especially good with sound effects. It has very high fidelity. So I basically go to a restaurant with this and just put it on the counter and just let it record for 2 minutes or the length of the scene. And I need things like running water, like rushing water, and I need to put in the background music. There's 2 musical scores in the film. One is very intense, droney, almost Soviet France type music. Very droney, very majestic, but very ominous too. And there's also a kind of a less ominous track that I did. It was a Suture thing from the first or second Suture CD, where me and Sarah, who was my partner then, at the time, we each picked 2 things without telling each other what the 2 things would be, and we recorded a track at normal speed, and we recorded the same thing at slower speed. And then what she picked was the wine glass, when you get the wine glass thing, and what I picked was running water from a tap. And so that's what's playing in the second half of Think at Night. In the first half, it's the really intense droning music, and the second half, it's that. But that's sort of intense too. It's just a bit more ethereal. It's a bit more not as heavy. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But by no means light. It's still got a kind of a gravitas to it, if that's the right word. So, anyways, so that's what I call step 2. I'm on step 2 now, and I'm having trouble shifting over. We might as well talk about it, but this film has taken way too long to do. Okay, like the last footage I shot in 2007, right? I mean, and it's now almost 2017, so there's no reason for it to have taken that long. I just had a mental block. I just couldn't edit it. The only way I could finally move forward, because this year I've actually worked on it literally 10 times faster than I have for the last 10 years. I was working on it like 3 or 4 or 5 times a month. You know what I mean? And I got to this, finished step 1. But the reason what I've had to do to actually work on it is to invite friends and drink beers and turn it into a bit of a party, like make it a party, and even when I come on my own, I drink beer and smoke pot or whatever, and just so I can think the film's better, so that I can, you know what I mean, watching, oh, what a great film this is, you know what I mean, like it helps me finish the film. Mm-hmm. I mean, I still like the film. I think it's a great film. If I didn't, I wouldn't finish it. I'm proud of the film. I'm not sure how many people like it. It's, you know what I mean. But I'm very proud of the film. It does things I really want it to do. I think it's a totally unique film. There's no film like it. You know what I mean? That's another thing that I think is really good. It's a little maybe too low budget. I mean, and maybe it's a little too vague. The story is incredibly vague about what it's about. Or it's about very obscure things. Like, it's basically about an artist that quit art and now condemns other artists. Like, this, you never find out what his art was. I'm the lead character that does it. Al is his name. And I have quit art, and now I'm just condemning art. That is totally useless. That's what this character does throughout the film. And he runs into other films that are artists, other characters that are artists, and they are, one is a woman that had done art and become famous doing art, but becoming famous almost killed her. She did a work of art that almost killed her. She almost starved to death in doing a work of art, and it made her a famous artist. She's offended by that, so in this film she's giving away thousands of dollars, like the money that she made from art. She's just giving lumps of money away to people, just even randomly on the street, because she's so disgusted with art. She thinks it's dirty, like, and just like the lead character thinks it's dirty too. So, but what happens in this film is he runs into a poet that insists on reading a poem to him. It's a lab technician, so there's a scene where he's walking through the lab. In fact, I'll find it, and reading this poem, endlessly reading this poem, and this poem dogs this guy throughout the film. I won't say how, but as the film progresses, this poem keeps showing up, and he keeps telling people to shut up, and he doesn't want to hear the stupid poem. And the poem just keeps, right to the end of the film, the poem just keeps asserting itself as if it's a character trying to win this battle against the Al character. Mm-hmm. So that in itself is a unique thing that I don't think I've ever seen in a film. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So I'll show you a bit of the lab scene just because I think what I love about this low budget film is that it shows that you can still do provocative filmmaker with films with no budget. You can push people way past the limit, even if you have no budget. And it doesn't have to be violence or sexuality. It could just be a guy reading a poem for 2 minutes walking through a lab, and the audience going, how long is this going to go on? Is this ever going to end? You know what I mean? I love that scariness of, is this ever going to end? You know what I mean?
I'm going to move this.
Should we stop?
They call me without calling my name. One of us. Be here amongst. Take the blame. Take the blame. Even if you are unwanted, it won't stop us from doing whatever we want to. Transcribing in the process of translating your past into our nets, into our past, your past, their past. Now we have you. Walking, thinking that you are invisible. Well, you are. But the path is marked. I've never done anything out of the blue. Just as well, spontaneity has been marked out within certain seemingly unavoidable parameters.
The thing is freezing up, right? Because the cheap computer.
Escape, ever. Through the park gates, through the pillars of sound, the empty street.
Anyways, you got the idea. Mm-hmm. But look what happens. Now, so that whole sequence goes on forever. Now watch what it changes to.
A list of things we forgot immediately. A code that no one will read. Memories, bitter sigh. Go back to what I can't go through there without turning back. The sun would shine upon it. Light dripping from the bullet wound, gas escaping from a crack in the canister, a disaster of sight. There are no mental pictures. There only doesn't have to be, but there might be.
See what I mean? Like, it's just getting to be where language is starting to take over, and it's not incomprehensible, but it's starting to becoming overwhelming.
There might be. Does that give away too much? No, your experience is wrong. What cannot be shown cannot be said. I don't understand. Suspect something beneath the words.
So who are some of the actors you've used?
This is Tom Kohut.
Taste from recollection. Whatever happened to
collection,
your Vladimir
mistaken
vows, I'm not a
metaphors.
part
Is there
of the
really
world,
such a
and here
thing?
you are.
These
Inescapable,
memories, these
but there must
metaphors.
And this is one of my favorite shots in the film. Like it just it keeps going on and on without ending. It's just it's just becomes, and then mixed with the lab and the tracking shots. So watch this cut is interesting. You're like already here. You're in about 2 minutes of this poem going straight, and you're probably still thinking the audience like, when's this going to end, eh? But it just never ends. It just keeps going on. And it gets now the camera goes towards them, rushes towards them, which I love this shot.
Your past, their
What is
past.
forgotten
Where
cannot be
now we
remembered.
have you, walking,
The one
thinking
not
that
being
you
a
are
function of the
invisible,
other.
though you are.
What cannot be
The
remembered
path is
cannot be
marked.
filled with
But you see,
I've
it's
never done anything
it's
out of
freezing.
the blue. Just as well, spontaneity has been marked out within certain
Time of the
seemingly
month.
unavoidable parameters.
present is behind me
Application of
now.
the will to escape guilt,
Or the word present,
which you will not escape,
loses
ever.
its sense.
Through the park gates, the
There,
pillars
no
of sound,
one
the empty streets,
index
the empty
word,
sea,
I.
atmosphere.
Not
We are you.
The whole
You are one
problem
of
is
us,
linguistic
no matter how much you
not
protest.
afraid anymore.
All of you, they,
But these
watch
words
out,
are
go
so
back, for
strong.
heaven's sake, leave,
Nothing
end this
to
absurd
the value of
sequence.
the gaze that creates the
Are you
face.
insured, my loves,
Full of
given
oppression
away,
that must be
abandoned
effaced.
one for the other?
Watch this cut. It's one of my favorites.
Things to be
There,
forgotten
no one will be
immediately,
there.
a code
The
that no one will
solipsistic
read.
circles in the flyglass, epiphanies and despair, the signatures beneath the missing smile. The smile, impossible in the face of all of this. The meaning of a word, the meanings of words. Reflection in an outside window of a drugstore, shyly revealing the innocence of its obscene contents. I used to dream faces from the past before sleeping, journey through a body towards the center. I imagine faces around me when I am awake, forgotten faces and unknown names. When you are alone at night, you set yourself all the things that you believe are right. Silly lyrics, funny, silly notes. Underneath the real horror, silent screams silenced by a stereotyped reverence. Imagine conversations are absurd, master-slave, the real and what I am prepared for.
And by the way, you saw how it started with going through the hall. This is at 9 minutes later. That's a 9-minute scene that just continually does that and lets the words just fully take over everything. You know what I mean? Then guess who, because he was told to read it in the parking lot.
Cafe table, pounding fists, overflowing ashtrays, the world of words and ideas, emotions. Another world.
Those who will one day commit some kind of crime. I know none of them. None of them knows me. No. To say no is to know. Mistake. That for taking, for making some good progress in lack of clarity. Taken in by so many great words, so many styles, so many people. I wonder if I have any integrity at all. To a point in asking it now, I doubt the question would even make sense in the context of these years and the events that filed them, that created them, that created the creature you see before you now. Asking it now, wherever you have I doubt the question wherever would even make sense in the context of these years. 1-0. And the events that filed 1-0. That created them. 1-0. That created the creature you see before you now. 0. Wherever you have become. 0. Wherever you are right now.
Now, and then look what it cuts to. After that whole long sequence of words, look, with the heavy music. Okay, so that's that scene. I'm very proud of that scene. I think that's that's the key scene of the film, basically, because that's at around the 17, 18 minute mark of the film, and that just really sets the parameters of kind of like, well, now what? Like, what now? Am I going to get something else for this exceedingly long time? You know what I mean? Like, because at that point, a lot of people will have had it. Look at the film; they'll already have hated the film. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. After that long, and either you give yourself and you immerse yourself into it, or you won't like the film. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I really wanted the film to be driven by randomness a lot. So I picked the character's first name through random means by taking the first, random page in the phone book, and then going 13 names down in a first name. So I got the first name was Alan, and then the last name I got was, again, I was randomly picking first names, and I got Fred. So the name of the character is technically Alfred, but I don't know if you ever hear the Fred part, but it's just Al in the film. Also, I randomly picked the name of the band that's featured in the film, one of the names, which is Jasper Sheets, which I thought is a classically, alt rock sounding name, or you know what I mean. A lot of elements are randomly picked in the film. My use of randomness, it's in all of my works. Like it's in painting, it's in performance art, it's in music, it's in the way I live, it's in the way I cook my food, it's in the way I listen to music at home by randomly picking cassette tapes. With the food, if I'm making a pasta sauce, I'll randomly pick 3 sauces from my fridge and 3 spices. But of course, you can have these rules. There's things like if I pick, say, mustard and I'm making a tomato sauce, I don't want to use a lot of mustard, so I might just use a drop of mustard. You know what I mean? But that's how I play with the random elements. So I do sometimes when I'm working with field, which is the quartet, arranged freeform quartet, I will randomly pick the instruments that I play in what order I play them. Because in field you have to play at least 2 instruments per piece, and the pieces run from 2 minutes to as long as 40 minutes. As long as 60 minutes. There's been a 60-minute piece actually. But we also consider one of the instruments to be silence. So in one of the pieces I played guitar, or I played violin and silence. The other, I think randomness derives from my appreciation of Cage a lot, like John Cage, because I guess halfway through his career he just discovered randomness and started doing virtually everything. All the notes that he did were by random choice. You know what I mean? And he did that too, because if I use if I pick everything, then my ego is involved, and certain things that I go to are involved, like maybe if I paint, and I'd use like certain colors that I like all the time, but if I randomly pick the colors, then that opens up spaces to learn something about color. You know what I mean? And so it opens up a gap where things can be investigated that I might not normally do. You know
Is that the meaning of randomness to you? Or the
It is.
importance of it?
To open up a space that I might not know is there. So say I'm at home, and this happens a lot, well, not a lot, but I have a box of tapes that are my regular tapes, cassettes. I still use cassettes. And I don't know how many are in there. It's got to be, let's see, say 50 to 60 tapes that I listen to on a weekly basis. So I randomly pick the tapes to listen to. I don't, when I go to work and Zed Books, I bring 6 cassettes, but I randomly pick which 6 cassettes. So, and if I'm at home, just when I come home in the evening and I'm relaxing and cooking dinner, I randomly pick a cassette. And I could pick it, and I might go, oh, not this, I don't want to listen to this, you know what I mean? But I still play it, because maybe I'll discover something. Like, it seems like a torturous thing to do, but I just feel that I just like the adventure of doing it. For one thing, it opens up a space where you can discover things, like I said, but it's also a bit of an adventure. I'm excited when I'm getting ready to cook my meal, and I'm just like, okay, good, I'm going to randomly pick a tape. What's it going to be? Oh, it's good. You know what I mean? Seems silly, but I think I get something out of it. I don't know, at this later age, like I'm 56, I don't know, my life, I'm not totally happy about my life now. Maybe that was a terrible choice. Like, maybe by picking everything randomly, I've doomed myself to this terrible place of despair I now live in. Like, in terms of at least some things, like my social life and my financial world. Maybe this randomness has actually condemned me to this terrible dungeon of poverty and loneliness. But I will say that my art is always peaking at full thing. All the art projects I'm doing are at the best I've ever done. Like, all my painting is the best, and music, film, all that stuff, I'm really peaking. So at least it's helped my art, I think. just gonna, but first, okay, I'll do it. Cool. You start walking and I follow. Okay, so painting. Well, we're going to go downstairs, and I'm trying to work on a larger painting for. I was thinking of approaching a gallery actually for once, and I was going to try to work on a 5 by 4 foot painting. I usually work on shorter paintings. Smaller paintings, and I use 4 techniques of painting. I use things where I attach stuff to the front of the painting, and I use pouring, and I also use scraping, and also geometric abstraction. So I'm going to try to do a pour right now on the 5 by 4 painting, which is larger than I normally do. So we have to go into the bowels of the graffiti gallery, which they generously let me do painting larger works down there. Okay, that's a good start. No, that's pretty much it. I'm out of paint. Is it?
It's really dark.
I know. Well, if we did this properly, we should have set this light up.
Yeah. Well, something to try again sometime, or...
Yeah. Like, when did it get super dark? As soon as we got down?
Well, just, yeah, and then
Yeah.
I was kind of getting light off of the edge there, and that was my focus, and then when I went to this side, I couldn't...
Yeah, I know. It's just, look, I even have this bright light right here. Could have just set it up.
Well, do you want to just... Can you turn it on?
Yeah.
Just so I can take a shot of the pour.
Is that better? Keep going. Well, part of the thing about randomness is in the use of mistints too, because very often you might go, if you're poor like me, I've had to buy mistints a lot, which is, a mistint is basically, you can buy like a half a gallon at the paint store of a paint that was tinted for a person renovating their house. So they might have wanted an off-white and it wasn't quite the color they wanted, so there's a whole gallon of off-white there that nobody wants. But if I get it, and I can use it in my painting. But that obviously affects the painting, you know, how the painting looks itself. So that's just another aspect of the randomness. But I also use randomness to randomly blend paints too. I might have 6 paints sitting on my paint table, and I'll look at the time on the clock and add up say, okay, the time adds up to 14, and then I'll count 14, pick red, count 14, pick black, and mix red and black. I can paint it the way I can mix it to the way I want. I can mix it more black or more red if I want. I have that leeway, but it has to be the red and the black. So that's another use. And mistints kind of figures into that because it's whatever happens to be at the store at that time. Sorry. Well, some of my influences, there's been like, in the pouring department, there's been Paul Jenkins and Helen Frankenthaler. Those have been 2 really big influences in me. I got to say about my painting, I feel in my music and in my filmmaking and even my disc golf course design that what I'm doing is very unique. Like it's sort of an unprecedented. It comes from a bit of a place, but it's fairly new stuff. Like, I mean, the story in Think at Night is a story that I've never heard before. But in my painting, that's the only field that I work in where what I'm doing is not really anything. You can see it coming from a recognizable school. It's the only art discipline I do that isn't, I'm not trying to break new ground of some sort in that. I'm just trying to do really, really effective paintings in those certain genres, which could be, you know, color field painting, abstract expressionism to a degree, kind of the, what's his name, Alfred Bury, putting stuff on the canvas. He used to put sacks, like potato sacks and stuff, actually on the canvas and paint over that for texture. I do a bit of that. Geometric abstraction is all the way from Ellsworth Kelly to Barnett Newman and even more complicated stuff. Even Sean Scully, who I really, really, really appreciate his work. Okay. Cool. Okay, cool. Here's an interesting kind of random color, grayish color derived from green and black. I like the random mixing because then you get all sorts of bizarre subtle colors. So I'm just going to put these back in here. This, by the way, is a graffiti gallery. So this is where I work. It's one of my part-time jobs, but I also do music here. I've done film stuff here. I've shot films. I've painted here. They let me use the gallery to do monthly shows of music. So it's generally experimental music mixed in with other music, like maybe it could be a singer-songwriter or a rock band. But usually there's always an experimental element to it to do that. Oh, is it really white? Oh shit! Here, you're not set for outside. Okay, there you go. You only got barely any left too.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, Blair, we can start. You might want to be behind us to watch the drives. Okay, so. Almost. Skips. Okay, we're done. So give me that. Give me the thing.
All right.